It's Gigi No Re. It's a Dear Gary episode. Another Dear Gary episode. What is Dear Gary, thou mayest ask? Dear Gary is our RPG advice column where we get questions from listeners, from Reddit, from other places on the internet, and then answer them in the style of a Dear Prudence or a Dear Abby advice column. So today, here's our first one. This is from Re-ing at Reddit. Can someone do a re for me? No. There we go. Thank you. Appreciate that. Dear Gary, what is going on with this Reddit thread? There's
what? That's the only one?
No, there's a link to a thread. I will summarize it. I'm summarizing it now.
Context.
We're just gonna say what's going on with this thread.
What is the deal?
So here's my summary. This is quotes that I've chopped up. Had this idea, could use some help fleshing this out. A room full of things that would trigger veteran D&D players and dare them to metagame. The party enters a room. The first thing they notice, there's no punctuation there. The party enters a room. The first thing they notice is 3 chests in the center. Despite being in the middle of a grimy, dusty dungeon, these chests are pristine and look like mundane chests. Parentheses. You could embellish saying that there seem to be closed eyes carved into the lids, in parentheses. They would also notice that the floors are suspiciously clean. To the people questioning, and this is later, I guess he edited it. To the people questioning my use of the term metagaming, I mean players being tempted to act on their own experience rather than the character's experience. So in that thread, the guy was putting this. I mean, it was kind of a cringe idea. It was just a bunch of. His idea was to put in a bunch of things that makes you rely
constantly second guess yourself.
Like it's just tropes.
Yeah.
It's just using tropes explicitly all the time.
So that if you're a D&D player, experienced D&D player, you would recognize the tropes and want to constantly second guess it. And
yes.
Yeah.
And people were in the comments really getting angry about metagaming and thinking that the players should act as if they have never encountered these tropes before. So what do we think about this?
Seems hard.
It seems dumb.
I mean, it's like,
I think common sense would come into a little bit of it, but I mean, I get the whole I've seen this scenario before.
I don't role play my characters. I'm not the type of person.
I don't role play my characters. Quote, the idea that you would even want to not use your previous experience playing the game is foreign to me. Oh, Tim was saying that he doesn't metagame though.
Well,
no, role play.
Yes,
in the role playing games.
I definitely metagame because I don't role play very hard.
What do you mean you don't role play? What does that mean?
Like I guess I don't I don't make a conscious decision to limit myself as a player because I'm so invested in the character and what they might know. Maybe part of that is just because I can't be bothered to put forth the effort and the mental
game
to say, okay, this is my character. I'm in the role now. This character wouldn't know that. They can't say that. I mean, I try to some extent, but like those type of things, especially when it comes into mechanical situations where there's going to be roles involved, skills involved, I'm just like, nah, what's on the sheet is on the sheet, and I'm just going to think how I think.
Yeah, now that's for nerds.
You're a bunch of nerds playing this game.
Is this like the method acting thing where they like demand that everyone in their life calls them by the character that they are playing for months on end? And
I think it's partly that, but let's imagine that there is a monster that can only be defeated if you sneeze at it. Okay, let's say that's the established D&D trope, and you know that although the monster can kill you with one hit, if you just sneeze at it, it's going to die. Your character would have, in this scenario, no way of knowing that, but you know it. So is it okay for you to do it? That's part of the metagaming question.
Finally, my sinus allergies are a strength.
Strength. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a balance that could be had, because it's like, okay, I mean, like, yeah, a weird, obscure scenario with a creature or a religion or something in the game mythos that, you could reasonably say, yeah, there's no way my character would know this. Versus, like, maybe his scenario is not great because, okay, they're chests in a 3 chests in a room, conveniently positioned. Like, who would not be suspicious about that, no matter whether you've ever seen that before or not?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, common sense comes into it a little bit.
I think
would hope your character would have
I'm
common
still
sense.
opening them, though.
Yeah, I think
we gonna find a way to open his chest.
I think they're supposed to be
I
like
won't know where to
mimics.
go with that.
Yeah, so he
I'm a
sets it up to make
backhoe
you think that they're trapped or they're mimic.
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to get people to be really cautious. Where it's like, haha, suckers, they were just regular chests all along. And there were, all these things that looked like they were traditional traps. Like, oh, will you touch the chest? The armor stands are animated armors, or this chest is a mimic, or this chest is a trap. Where all of them, none of them were any of that.
So there's at least a couple different questions here. One is, should you design something that's meant to make the player second guess stuff based on their experience? I say that's fine as part of the game.
I don't think you should. I mean, if you want to, sure, go for it. But just if you want to throw that in there, go for it. But just because you know that your players are experienced, I don't think you should.
I don't think you should
Go
make it
over-
immediately the opposite.
Yeah.
Don't make it difficult on yourself. Trying to like, well, they're gonna know because they're experienced. So I need to make sure that this is gonna trip them up, because then you're gonna do that with everything.
Yeah, that's how a bunch of stupid D&D monsters get created. Like, there's all these variants of undead. Oh, turning undead doesn't work on these because of stupid reason X or Y. I don't like that kind of thing. But I like the idea of occasionally playing off tropes that they'll be familiar with.
Yeah.
But I just don't want to go too hard into that. I think there's also a balance on the player side. Like, for something that's incredibly specific and obscure, I think I would, as a player, not feel comfortable with just automatically assuming I should be able to know that. Like with the sneezing at the monster thing.
Yeah.
But if I did, I would expect the GM to maybe let me make an argument for why I would know that, or let me make a check to see if I knew, or something like that.
If you go too hard into this and commit too much to your character, you'll end up like Tom Hanks in Monsters and Mazes.
I don't think it's about committing to your character. I mean, a lot of people will say that, but I think it's just having some understanding that it's also a game, and it's okay to be good at it by remembering things and having experience.
Yeah, but sometimes you can be good at the game and lean into that. Sometimes maybe you just need to be like, well, this might have some awareness that, well, this would kind of ruin it if we were just like, oh, this is obvious. It's like, well, maybe play into your character a bit, not because you're hardcore like a role player, but just because you read the room and you feel like, okay, let's just take a step back. And
Because everybody that plays D&D is really good at picking up on the room and understanding other people's emotions. And
Yeah, honestly, if I were a player in that situation with like the sneeze monsters, I would probably be like, hey, DM, what's up with this? Like, I know how to do this. How do you want me to handle that?
yeah, true.
And then just have that discussion
Yeah,
at the time.
I feel like we should have sneeze monsters now.
it's gonna be a thing.
The thing. It's canon.
You may see something later that makes you think that I put it in because of this conversation, but it's not because of this conversation. I don't know if you
Completely
will see it.
different thing.
I don't know if you will see it.
But there's 3 chests.
You may never go there. All right, our next question is from...
Did we help?
I think so.
No.
I just think we had an okay conversation about it. Our next question is by Bamboozled by Boisterousness. Dear
right.
Gary, I have a group new to OSR and some to RPGs in general. One player is very loud and too focused on minute details.
Sorry.
He also tries to play everyone else's characters.
Sorry.
That's me when I'm a player. Oh no, don't do that. You should do this other thing. No, that's stupid. Don't do that. The others don't seem to get a turn, and it can devolve into chaos. How can I give each person a turn and manage the table effectively? I'm actually thinking of using a talking stick, and each person tell me what they want to do one by one when taking turns through the dungeon. How to keep order and take turns fairly? How do you keep players on task and not go off on tangents?
And still respect them as human beings and not kindergartners.
Because kindergartners are not.
I have the conch.
Oh man. Gosh, I feel like if someone's constantly like speaking out of turn, yeah. I mean, there's depending on the person, of course, and the relationships involved and how close are you to that person. But I feel like in most scenarios, you could probably just be like, "Hey, look, let's set a rule. If it's not your turn, we got to keep quiet, keep silence at the table, so we don't have crosstalk. So if it's not your turn, like, don't say anything. Like, let that person go and do their thing, because crosstalk can really confuse things."
And if we've had a thing where if
We've
we're
done
playing
that
a
before.
complicated game, you can't give people advice that's against the rules unless they ask for it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise people are saying, no, you get a +2 bonus if you do this, and but that will endanger you because then this condition triggers. So just don't say anything unless the person asks for it, and that can help as well. But as far as managing the social aspect, I think what you have to do is say things publicly that are kind of laughy and jokey, like that they can play off and not have their feelings hurt by. Like, okay, come on, let other people talk, that kind of stuff, where they recognize it as a rebuke, but it's a very gentle one. And then if the person just doesn't shut up, I think rather than implementing a new procedure on the table, it's better just to talk with the guy one-on-one. Say, listen, I think you're being a little too loud.
So, on a fishing rod, the like skinny, real flexible part, you should get one of those, and
Whip him.
every time he turns, pow! Give it to him
That's actually not a bad idea.
right on the back of the neck.
Yeah.
Have him sit right beside you and just tap him on the shoulder.
I would have such a leathered neck.
Stop it!
No, you could record a podcast because when you become aware of audio quality and how much crosstalk sucks,
It's true.
It really cuts down at just pretend you're recording.
Go listen to our old episodes.
Oh, it's a riot.
Edit in some memes that really shame them.
Yeah.
Every time they do.
Yeah.
So as the least experienced person at the table in all this, I tend to ask for help when I want it.
That's good.
And I think
Legit.
that, like, if I was getting help that I wasn't asking for, I would probably say, okay, like, I've got this.
A lot of people are not confident enough to do that. I've
Yeah,
found.
yeah. Probably a lot of the type of people who would play D&D with maybe with not people who they're best friends or something
No.
wouldn't feel comfortable being that way. And
Issuing a social correction.
Well,
got it.
I guess my point is maybe they should develop that skill.
Yes.
I agree.
Also,
Yeah.
Like, it's
Get
sort of
scrunk.
two-sided. Like,
Make them fight.
bow up. All right, guys, we're gonna tie your wrists together and give you some knives and
Shirts
here
and
you go.
skins. Let's go.
All right. At
shirts
least
and blouses.
at least one more, maybe two. We'll see. Here we go. Shutout in Chicago.
Oh,
Dear Gary, shootout?
Shutout.
Oh.
I have a player / longtime friend in the group that is married to 5e and really doesn't want to branch out and try other systems. How can I convince that player that there's more to life than WotC? They really enjoy combat, tactics, and getting power-ups, but are put off by high lethality. P.S. What are some different systems you like? Any that you haven't talked about before? I love your column. Oh, this is from a listener. That's great.
Oh, how nice.
Love your column
Wait.
in our newspaper that this is in.
this was for us.
Yeah, this is for
Directly?
us. This is directly for us.
Wow.
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 Okay.
No,
and
one-
we lost them.
One of these
and bye.
Some of these are from patrons, and some actually we've gotten from our website where
Okay.
people write in.
Okay.
So
Huh.
married to 5e just likes everything about 5e, and the DM I suppose
They think it's
doesn't want to play
They
it.
think it's the superior system. Gosh, yeah. I mean, for the longest time, I was 4e, 5e, and I still really enjoy those systems for sure.
I mean, we're playing 5e tonight.
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because that's probably just my own personal development of getting tired of certain things and wanting to try new things and just being more flexible. Maybe that speaks to me as being a superior being of having developed and evolved in such a way. But
Probably.
I feel like as the DM, you have the right to put that to the whole group and say, hey, what are you okay with? Who's okay with playing System X? Everybody's okay but one person. The next gonna give it to you. But that hopefully that person, if your relationship is solid enough, they will be willing. And if they're solid enough, by solid I mean a well-adjusted human being, they'll be able to say, okay, I'll let everybody do what they want to do, and I'll take one for the team there. Accept their preferences, and that's fine. And then every now and then maybe come back to it. But I mean, D&D is more than just a DM and a single player.
Yep.
And you got to have multiple people. You got to have an agreement there.
A goofy thing you could do. This is totally goofy. It's not. I think the ideal is just to either reconcile yourself with 5e and some style of running it that doesn't. Maybe you don't tell the player that you're doing anything differently, but then you do. You just run it in a kind of style that you enjoy.
Because that's what D does.
That's pretty much what I do. Or as a goofy workaround, you could let the guy basically play a 5e character in a normal D&D game. Like if you were more low powered, I don't know, you could justify it in fiction in various ways. You could reskin things to make it make sense with your setting, but you could give him, I mean, if you're still doing tactical combat and stuff, or just normal combat like Into the Odd Combat, you could slot a 5e character into that. It's all weird, but everything's basically the same. Everything is the same.
And nothing matters.
Are you lying to him?
I'm not
doing
lying.
it without his knowledge.
No.
Okay.
You would have to
That
get
would be
everyone on the. I would say, is everyone cool with him just having a 5e character and we just making it work? I don't know. That might work for people. I have no idea. But everything is the same and nothing matters, and the rules are made up. So I don't know, but I think fundamentally that's not the solution. The solution is either to reconcile yourself to 5e or to get the guy to reconcile himself to not 5e.
Yep.
I mean, it's not a permanent decision you're making.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, technically you can
Yeah.
change the mechanics and the rule set as you go.
But I find tinkering is just not sustainable, really. Like saying, we'll change this and this and this, and it just gets hard. Basically, you need to have very few hacks if you're going to have hacks at all, I think. Because people just get unsatisfied with it. I don't know, that's my thing. All right, our last question. Any tips on how to deal with a rule? This is from Reddit. How to deal with a rule Nazi. One of my PCs apparently has the entire PHB memorized and constantly feels the need to point out every little detail for every little thing. It is irritating me, but it's also annoying the other players and it interrupts and drags things out, especially combat. I think that the rule Nazi is good. I don't have a problem with the rule Nazi. If you're literally getting the rules wrong, that's on you.
Yeah, I think you need to set that down at the beginning. Like, are you gonna play this version and you need to stick to the rules, or are you guys gonna be flexible and you're gonna maybe make house rule decisions every now and then?
Yeah, like if the players are expecting it to be like 5e, then you need to get the rules right. The problem is I could see if he's like taking, give me 5 seconds to look up the rule, and he takes 10 minutes to look up the rules every time to the spell.
Yeah,
Right.
That would suck.
But if he just says, actually, that's 15 feet, not 10 feet, and
That's
you
fine.
know that he's right all the time, then I just say, okay.
Yeah, just go with it. I mean,
That's what we do with Daniel.
like,
I don't actually know those kind of rules.
unless you see like it's being abused somehow and it's favoring his character greatly, and maybe you need to question it and be like, maybe we should look this up. Maybe he's not right. I mean, just most times just go with it. Okay, sure,
Yeah.
fine. Whatever.
I was going to say something, but it would not be appropriate. So I will not make that comment and instead say,
Triggered.
This has been, yeah. So here's, we could end Dear Gary. We could end this series entirely just by having one maxim. Just be a normal person. Just be a normal person. When someone is acting weird, be normal.
Dab.
The
GG
more
Nori.
you know.